Okay, so this is going to be a demonstration of how to use the iMapInvasives mobile app. So I'm here in the app on my phone, and the first thing that you'll see when you first open it up is kind of a SketchUp with some brief instructions on the components of the app and where each of these things are located. So if you tap on your screen, you'll notice then that those instructions will disappear and you're ready to use your app and collect information. However, if this is the first time that you are using this app, you want to actually set up your preferences first before you collect any data. So you're going to want to go ahead and tap on Preferences. And if you haven't filled these out before, most of these fields should be blank. They are already filled in on my phone because I've already set them up. But you're going to want to go ahead and start at the top and select your jurisdiction. So you're going to want to choose Pennsylvania. The next thing you're going to fill in is your iMapInvasives email address and your password. And your email address is also your username, whatever email address you use to sign up when you registered for your iMapInvasives account, and then your password. If you haven't already set up or created an iMapInvasives account, you can click on where it says Create Account or Reset Password and actually do that right from your phone. The next thing you're going to do is click on this green button that says Retrieve IMAP List. That's really important to do. That's going to pull in all of the most up-to-date information from the database. It's going to include our most up-to-date track species list, also any projects that you are a part of, and also your affiliated organization or organizations if you are part of multiple. So because there isn't a direct connection between the iMapInvasives mobile app and the actual database itself, that Retrieve IMAP List button is essentially forming that connection. If anything changes or is updated in your iMapInvasives online profile, you'll need to make sure that you come back into your app, click on that Retrieve IMAP List button, and reestablish that connection and get any up-to-date information that is from your profile into your app. The next thing you're going to do is to choose how you want the species name list to display. So right now I've got it set to both, but here I just turned off both of the options, scientific and common, so I can choose one or the other. So you could just have common names or scientific, but here I just prefer to have both of them show up. And we'll see that in a little bit when we actually go in and create a record. Next, you can choose to make a custom species list. And essentially what this is a way to minimize the number of species that show up in the species list when you're creating a record. We do track over 400 species in our program right now, and so that means there's a very long list in here, and it can take a while to scroll through everything. So if you'd like to only survey for a few species or only just have a few species show up in your species list, you can go through and choose what those would be. So I'm just going to choose just a few here as a way to show you a little bit later on what that looks like. Okay, so now if you keep going through, these are just some additional details that you can set up. Picture quality, I have mine set to 50%. That always seems to be fine. You have the option to save your photos that you take with your app that will then save to your device's photo library. So that's an option if you are interested in that. You can choose how your base map will show up, whether that's satellite imagery or road view. And then some additional things like the map zoom, I just have mine set to 16. That's the default. It seems to be fine. Measurement system is set to US. Default project, if you're capturing any data that's going to be associated with a particular project, you can click on that and choose whatever project that will be. I don't need to do that at this time, so I'm going to leave that blank. And then your default organization. So this is information that's being pulled in from your online profile. It knows that I'm associated with Western Pennsylvania Conservancy. So whatever your organization is, that should show up here. And if it doesn't, then you'll want to make sure that you select it. Okay, and then once you've got all that set up, you're going to want to go ahead and say save. Now you can actually go in and start recording data by adding an observation. So you're going to go ahead and click on that green button at the top. And then if you're in the field, likely what you'll do is actually click on the first button that says take photo using camera. But if you already did take a photo and maybe already saved it to your device library, or in this case, I'm just doing a demonstration. So I'm going to go ahead and say select photo from library. So my photo library is going to pop up here. I'm going to go ahead and click on a photo that I've already got saved, and we'll go ahead and fill in the details from here. So I'm going to turn off that custom list and just show you what the species list looks like here. Again, this is our over 400 species that we currently track in iMapInvasives. So it takes a while to scroll through all of that to select the species that you found. But if you click on custom list, now if you click on that species list, you'll see that it's much smaller. And so this will help to speed up the process of adding an observation if you know you're only going to be serving for a select few number of species, or you know you probably are only going to find a certain limited amount. So I'm just going to go ahead and choose one of these species here again, just as a quick demonstration. It's then going to ask you, did you detect this species? Is it present or did you not? Did you search for it and it's not here? It's absent from this location. So I'm going to go ahead and say this is a presence record. The observation date will show up as today's date, so that will be automatic. And then if your GPS is turned on your device, your phone will know where you're located at. Currently, there is a slight glitch with the iMapInvasives app that even if you are connected to the internet, which I am currently, the map does not show up, but that's not anything to worry about because your GPS should still be hopefully fairly accurate on your phone. You can always go in and just double check it after you've submitted the record to make sure that it did map correctly, but that shouldn't be a problem. It does give you the coordinates here. So again, you can kind of take those and they will also save to your record. So you'll see those later and just double check that the location mapped appropriately. Again, if you want to tag this observation to a project, you can do so. That is optional, so you don't need to do that. But a project would already need to be created in iMapInvasives online and then would need to be showing up in your app in order for you to select it. But I'm just going to leave that blank for now. Your organization will pop up based on what you put in your preferences, so that should populate on its own. And then the time searched in minutes. How much time did you spend searching at this location for the species that you found? So I'll say I searched for 10 minutes. Then it's going to ask you for the size of the area that contains the invasive species that you found. So you can check the most appropriate option. And then the distribution of that invasive species. So it goes from trace all the way down to a monoculture or literally scattered. So you can choose the most appropriate option there as well. And then finally, there is observation comments that you can enter as well. So that could be a variety of things. Maybe you were with a group of people, so you want to list who else you were with. Maybe you want to add a few landmarks, something that was nearby that would help someone else find this location if it's semi-remote. Maybe there is important native species that were present on the site, and so you want to mention what you were seeing there and any potential threat that the invasive species is posing to those good native species. So whatever you think is relevant to include in the observation comments, feel free to add that in here. You don't have to add anything if you don't want to, so we can just go ahead and say save from here. So now at this point, I do have my record saved. It's living here on my app. It is not yet in the actual database itself online. So at this point, you can go ahead and continue adding more observations just by going and doing what we just did, clicking on that add observation button at the top. Or if you're only going to be recording one thing and you're ready to upload, you're going to want to make sure that you get back to an area that has a Wi-Fi connection. And once you're at a location that is connected to the internet, you can either just go ahead and tap on that little box next to the record, and that will select that record. Or if you have a lot of records on your app that you've created, you can go ahead and click on that upper left corner menu and say select all, and that will select everything on your screen for you, which is a bit of a time saver. And then go ahead back up to that upper left corner menu and say upload selected. It will come up with a window that says, are you sure you want to upload this record? And you say, okay. And then you should notice there is a little spinny wheel that shows up. And then shortly thereafter, you should see that your record did upload successfully to the database. And if you click OK at that time, you'll notice that the record disappeared from your app. And that's a good thing. That means that it is no longer living in your app. It has now been uploaded to the actual online database itself. So what you can do from there is go actually into the database, query either for your name or zoom into the location where you know that you mapped that record at, and just double check that it is showing up as an unconfirmed record at that time. And that's it. That's how you use the iMapInvasives mobile app. So thanks for listening.